Now I'm gonna go back again to when my father lived in Chicago, and he was dating. I know he was dating Pat. I know he was on the down low at that time dating Pat because that didn't come out until after the fact. My dad was living in Chicago, and that's when my uncles was going to visit my dad. And I knew at that point in time my sister was coming to my mama's house and getting shit. She was going to Troy's house getting shit, and they were going to Chicago with Pat Baker, who worked for Northwest at that time. Now, let me make myself clear. Under immunity, you can't go back and charge nobody with shit because you're under me. And me telling this story would be the witness to whatever you want to talk about. And Northwest, your job is done. Whatever deal you had with that bitch is the deal you will have going for life. But you better pay attention. Because at that time, while she was, back in the days where my dad was living in Chicago, that's where I got that cereal box, right? So anybody that Pat Baker was dealing with, and she was flying with to Northwest, could have known. My daddy could have got money for all I know for that bullshit. I don't know. I know that me and my dad discussed it when I won that motherfucking prize on that cereal box because I said I was supposed to get this amount of toys according to the commercial. And they sent me a package, a manila envelope with a bunch of cardboard games and plastic pieces I had to bend and twist out and fold and tear out. It wasn't like the pictures. And they thanked me for not suing them. Their words, not mine. As my daddy lived in Chicago. Now, as Pat was flying, Breon, you weren't around at that time. You came around after. But at that time in Chicago, you weren't around. You were created after that. Then he married the bitch. Then they moved to Detroit. Because he was dating her while he was going to Detroit. When she ended up pregnant, all that shit happened then. The reason I bring that up is because when you're having those parties where you guys don't have to take a UA, because you're above the law and you make the law and you ain't got to account for your behavior. I said you could be high at the table. And when I stood for Mark Dayton, it was led to believe that he had some inner turmoil going on where he had some surgeries. It was never said the man was popping pain pills during the meetings and zoning out, right? It was never said that. So let's say he was prescribed Oxycontin, right? Doc Gordon, Sister Kinney Institute, and he was popping Oxycontin at the meetings. Well, that's different. And I don't know if America wanted to put that out there or not, but we might not have wanted a leader who was doped up on Oxycontin if you look at the base compound, the main component, right? The main component that pops it off, that makes it what it is, right? Because when they were giving me Oxycontin, I thought my mom said, Sharon, that's heroin. You don't want to take that. It's like heroin, girl, you don't want to take that. You been got an addiction you don't even want to get. So with that being said, you can make some money off of it. And we ain't going to talk about how I made that money. Because again, Pat Baker, fucking around with them prominent people, that wheel and deal in the government, their friends and family. Because I talked about a judge having a baby with a lawyer, a judge having a baby with a doctor, and then them children growing up and becoming either judges, lawyers, or doctors. They could even become police. And then now they got a family of these people in a small neighborhood, right? A lawyer, a doctor, and a police, because they went to school and they got more education. And depending upon their color of skin, they might rule the area. Now when you're down south and that shit happens, the people like us, right? Because that movie comes to mind, Lawrence Fishburne. That movie comes to mind, Lawrence Fishburne, that you played, where you played that black man as a sheriff. And I can't remember if that end of the movie the dude was guilty or not, because it was like a cliffhanger, right? It was like left in the air if he did or didn't do it, but you swayed more to the side that he did it, but you were still wrong in a sense, right, in the movie. But your attitude towards niggas in the movie, right, it just reflected that hate that you have when you're an educated nigga and you're looking down on another nigga, to me, right? Because you forget you're a nigga, right? Because you're better than a nigga. But in reality, you a nigga. And no offense, I thought that Scholastica gave me a Webster's dictionary where at one point I looked up the word nigga and it was defined as a stupid person. Why? Because at that time when that book was printed in the 70s or the 80s, the ideology was based on black people and they were stupid. And then they changed it. Right? They said nigger was a derogatory word used for people in slavery. Is that how it's worded now? Should we look it up?